it's kind of weird because Jake Paul is extremely bigger than Tank. And I mean, but with it being a exhibition, it makes sense.
Start like this. First of all, if you're a boxer and you're not taking note or notice of what Jake Paul is doing, you're worried about criticizing his boxing skills, then you're the fool.
Paul versus Tank Davis, they just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big.
When two of boxing's most talked about names, YouTuber turned fighter Jake Paul and pound-for-pound star Gervonta Tank Davis, are finally set to collide, legends of the game are already weighing in. Tank brings explosive knockout power, blazing speed, and experience against world-class opposition, while Paul arrives with public hype and a record of shocking skeptics. Many insiders expect Davis to impose his trademark dominance with sharp timing and movement. Others argue Paul's height, reach, and habit of flipping the script could make this one of the year's biggest surprises.
You know what? Fair play. If he does go out and fight Anthony Joshua, which I wouldn't advise because that would be extremely dangerous, then fair play if he was to do that. And all the critics and people like myself would have to shut the hell up, because I always said he's looking for fights that were manufactured, looking for fights that were predetermined. And by that, I don't mean fake fights. I don't mean fixed fights. I mean fights where the odds are so stacked in his favor that of course he's going to win. And of course, we see this. The latest match that's going to go down November 14th at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. Jake Paul is taking on, you've seen it by now, Gervonta Tank Davis. A man that is a lightweight in boxing. Now, lightweight in MMA is 155 pounds. Lightweight in boxing, 135 pounds. Jake Paul, I think when he weighed in for Mike Tyson, was 227 pounds.
Official weight, 227.2 pounds.
That is, if I'm not mistaken, a 92-pound weight difference. Almost a 100-pound weight difference. It's insane. Let's say he comes in at 200 pounds. It's still a 65-pound weight advantage, which is absolutely ridiculous. How can you be out there claiming to want to fight the best people on the planet and then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you? That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and shit like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
The venue for the Showdown has also changed. Instead of Atlanta, Jake Paul will now meet Gervonta Davis on November 14th at the Casa Center in Miami. MVP Sports posted, "The war is moving from Atlanta. Jake Paul versus Tank Davis takes over Miami. Same fight, same date, brand new city. The event will stream globally on Netflix. Though some dismiss it as pure spectacle, promoters officially list it as an exhibition." A huge size gap looms in the background. Paul last fought around 199.4 pounds at cruiserweight, while Davis has competed near 135 pounds. Because of that gap, Davis's WBA lightweight crown won't be on the line.
Boxing fans are losing their minds over this Jake Paul versus Tank Davis fight. And honestly, can you blame them? Why would Tank agree to this? I mean, look at the graphics. Jake is 6'1", 199 pounds with a 6'4" wingspan. Tank, 5'5", 133 pounds, a 5'7" wingspan. Tank fighting me would be a fairer matchup. We're basically the same size. And you wonder why fans think Jake's fights are rigged? Because every time we see some nonsense like this, it feels like WWE with boxing gloves. Here's the kicker though. Jake threatened to sue anyone who calls his fights rigged. Yeah, you know, the same guy who preaches freedom of speech now wants to ban opinions. After that clown show with Mike Tyson that left everyone scratching their heads. Maybe, and I'm just throwing it out there, if your own management company wasn't promoting and sponsoring your fights, fans might actually believe what they're watching. Until then, don't be mad that people are skeptical. Be mad that your boxing career looks more like a scripted reality TV show.
Exact terms of the bout remain unclear, with no official word on contract weight, number of rounds, or whether standard professional rules will apply. This uncertainty leads many to label it a crossover attraction rather than a true title contest. The debate rages over fairness, fighter safety, and whether bending boxing's weight system undermines the sport's integrity.
Tank is not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. You have the Paul brothers and they come over to boxing. Their idea from day one is we don't have the skills or the experience. What we're gonna do is we'll take on the absolute best guys, but they're gonna spot us some pounds. Tank has one job to do, that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skills, of which I am an abundance of and of which you have none of. Tank is telling anybody that will listen that there's a size problem. My skills and my experience in boxing, I do not have to wonder who's in the bar tonight. Any bar I go to, I rule the bar. Well, no, it turns out that you don't. Just need some big guy to corner you, apparently. Boxing has never stood its ground. Boxing has never been able to explain why Floyd needed a half hour to get rid of a guy who's never boxed before. Tank Davis has already began this. When you choose a dum-dum, don't be surprised when he goes out and acts like a...
Terence Crawford views Paul versus Davis with doubt, mainly because of the massive size imbalance. He suggests the match looks more like an entertainment stunt than a serious contest, comparing it to a glorified sparring session. Crawford still credits Davis as an elite fighter with explosive tools, but warns that Paul's larger frame could matter. If Paul lands a clean shot, momentum might swing. Even so, Crawford remains skeptical that the bout will follow professional norms, stressing that the weight gap erodes its legitimacy as a fight between equals.
A fight between equals.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis, they just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank, it's over with.
Shakur Stevenson, undefeated and respected, sees the Paul-Davis clash as a lopsided test tilted against Davis due to Paul's bulk. Still, Stevenson insists Davis's ring IQ, fundamentals, and technical mastery will carry the day easily. He expects Tank to use speed, footwork, and precision rather than brute force. Stevenson doubts Paul has the refined boxing craft to match Davis's skill set and predicts Davis will likely outbox him to a decision instead of hunting a knockout. While Stevenson criticizes the matchup as bad for boxing optics, he is certain Davis is far beyond Paul's level in pure talent.
This case here, when you've got what is like a 70-pound difference between these two guys.
I mean, size will play some part of the fight, but if I'm thinking like I'm Tank, I'm probably just gonna go out there and try to outbox him and use my knowledge and IQ against him. So I can see Tank just outboxing him and making it real easy.
Is there any way you could, any realistic or legitimate way in your mind you could see Jake Paul winning a fight against Tank?
No.
No way.
Nope.
Not a lot of people have talked about Jake and said he's got good power. Not even and I get anything could technically happen, but you don't even see a realistic shot where he could land one big punch and Tank being so much smaller, he just can't handle the power.
Nah, not at all. I think Tank is he's been boxing his whole life. He's been boxing since a kid, so I doubt like that's gonna be an issue or problem. I think Jake is good for where he's at, but I think it's just levels.
What do you think about the rumors that Tank and Jake might fight?
Man, Tank disrespectful to the sport if he choose that over fighting with me. I'm the best fighter in the sport. I've been telling him that. And he called cap on it. So if you gonna call cap and say I'm not who I say I am, come prove it. I think it's dangerous for him to go back in there and fight Lamont. I think Lamont is a hell of a fighter. I can see that going left. So he better be on his A game.
He takes a balanced approach. He respects Paul for daring to face someone like Davis, noting the courage and risk involved. Yet he also highlights the glaring weight issue, saying it makes the fight hard to judge on boxing's usual terms. Cormier emphasizes that Davis is vastly more accomplished in skills and experience, so Paul is gambling a lot. He also considers what's at stake reputationally. A loss could hurt Paul's credibility, while Davis falling to a bigger opponent could tarnish his image. While Cormier doesn't make a bold pick, he leans toward Davis on merit, but admits Paul's size could make things unpredictable.
I swear to God, I was on a plane coming home from Las Vegas. When Luis told me Gervonta Davis is fighting Jake Paul, I said, get the bleep out of here. I said, you're a bleep liar. Jake Paul is fighting Gervonta Tank Davis. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. Gervonta Davis is that much better than Jake Paul at boxing. But Gervonta Davis in his last fight weighed 133.8 pounds. And I'm not over here in the business of just crapping on Jake Paul. I am much more respectful of what he's starting to build as a professional boxer. You're fighting a guy that's better than you. He's just much smaller. But that guy, because he's better than you, what if he wins? Everything Jake Paul has done is wiped completely out. Gervonta Davis loses to Jake Paul. Obviously, it's going to hurt who Gervonta Davis is. But he lost to a guy that's going to be upwards of 70 pounds bigger than him when he steps into the boxing ring. But I will tell you this right now, without a shadow of a doubt, I will watch this. Tank Davis is 30-0-1. You want to talk about Jake Paul fighting a real boxer? That's a real boxer. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's true. They're fighting.
Teofimo Lopez views Paul versus Davis less as a clash for belts or honor and more as an entertainment showcase built around money and attention. He notes there's nothing wrong with that. Both men will cash in and the mainstream spotlight is guaranteed. Though it lacks the prestige of a championship fight, Lopez argues it still benefits boxing by drawing in new audiences. Even as an exhibition, it could expand the sport's reach, spark buzz, and remind the world of boxing's power when personalities, drama, and spectacle combine.
And I'm actually very happy for Gervonta and Jake. I really am, man. It's good for the sport in some way, you know?
So a heavyweight versus a lightweight.
Yeah.
You got a fly hit me, yeah. A heavyweight versus a lightweight. How's this gonna work?
Hey, they make it work. It's an exhibition for a reason. So, you know, they know what they're doing. And, you know, shout out to Netflix and shout out to both of them, honestly. Like I said, I think a lot of people in the boxing world are kind of upset. I could care less. I think they're going to go out there and make their money. It falls on the number 8 for a reason. They're going to make a lot of money.
Have you got a prediction for that fight?
My prediction? A show. A show.
Well, clearly it's a show, but when you've got a lot of people underestimating Jake Paul once again, but when you've got a heavyweight boxer who knows how to throw punches and knows the basics against a lightweight, it's quite a difference. I mean, have you sparred heavyweights before?
Yeah.
For competitive sparring in the ring?
Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same, not at all. Definitely got to move. I've actually played around a few times, went through between their legs just to duck around. But yeah, because they're taller, you know. But I think for that competition, that fight, it reminds me a lot like Big Show, The Big Show, and Floyd Mayweather when they fought in WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And will that end the same way?
Possibly. Maybe some brass knuckles in there too.
Can you see Jake Paul knocking out Gervonta Davis?
It's boxing, man. And if it's a show like this, anything goes, anything happens. You know, we expected Mike Tyson to do something, didn't go out that way. Jake Paul's training very hard, so, you know, kudos to both guys. I'm not going to critique them.
Promoter Eddie Hearn echoed that idea but sounded more critical. He warned that boxing and entertainment should be clearly divided, and a Paul Davis fight dangerously blurs the line. To Hearn, this isn't a competitive matchup, it's a business event fueled by celebrity and social media. He points to the size difference as proof that skill isn't the central factor here. While he admits the fight will be massive in revenue, headlines, and viewership, Hearn worries it compromises the sport's authenticity. From a promoter's standpoint, though, he acknowledges it's a financial slam dunk, even if purists feel the essence of real boxing gets diluted.